Okay, everybody. Well, it's 5:03, so I'm going to get us started here and people can kind of continue to join as we go. My name is Dana Armstrong, and I am a program coordinator and advisor at the UC Davis Global Learning Hub. So today we're going to talk about global learning opportunities for transfer students specifically. And so for a lot of students, that looks like study abroad. For others, that might be global internships, either abroad or here on campus, study away in other parts of the United States, on campus conferences and webinars, all kinds of cool things. So we're really excited to have you join us. Before we get started, Bree, can you launch our poll for us so we can see who is with us here today? Let's see if we can get our poll going. So go ahead and take a quick minute to fill that out. There's not a ton of us here, so it shouldn't take too long, but it'd be nice to kind of see what's going on here. While you fill that out, I'll just let you guys know kind of real quickly for housekeeping, any questions that you have, please post them in the Q&A section. I believe the chat area is disabled because we want to be able to centralize where you put your questions in. So please submit any questions through the Q&A function, and we will be sure to answer those at the end. A quick overview is I'm going to talk for a few minutes about what global learning is and why it's important. I'm going to talk first about study abroad, and then we'll hear from one of our transfer student study abroad participants, which is really cool. We're going to then learn about experiential learning, some virtual opportunities, which are kind of relevant right now in the age of COVID, some on-campus relevant global learning opportunities. We're going to hear from a student about other really cool, both on-campus and other opportunities there abroad, and then we'll talk finances. And then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. So now that I finished my little going through the outline, let's see the results of the poll. Yes, please share those with us, Bree. Fabulous. Oh my gosh, everyone's in California. That makes it easy. What are you most excited to learn about? Ooh, a lot of interest in internships. Cool. Study abroad, internships, research, leadership. Yay! And we have a lot of future Aggies with us, which really is exciting to me. Congratulations to those of you that have got in, and whether or not you're still deciding to come or not, that's fantastic. That's a big deal that you've gotten into UC Davis. You should be really proud of yourselves. And I hope that you are as excited as we are that you're coming. I think you're going to have a great time despite everything that's going on with COVID. It's a fantastic campus and you made a great choice. So, and if you are still deciding, hopefully we can convince you. So I'm going to start taking it away here. So the Global Learning Hub, like I said before, is an office where our goal is to see every student have some kind of global learning opportunity before they graduate. So that might be study abroad, that might be study away in another part of the United States, internships, research, either internationally at a host university abroad or here on campus in a lab that's looking at international or global questions and challenges. It might involve service learning if you're interested in volunteering and engaging with a community, as well as on-campus opportunities and virtual, all kinds of things, not just study abroad. But you might be wondering, what is global learning? What does that even mean? Why is that important? And so let's see if I can advance my slide here. Suddenly it stopped letting me. There we go. So the idea behind global learning, if you're wondering what that is it's simply the type of learning that occurs when you are exposed to places that you've never been before and people that you've never been exposed to before. And when you do that, you learn that the way that you see the world is just one way of how the world works. And so when you're able to connect with people that have different backgrounds, different systems of ethics and priorities and navigating this world, you make not only great friendships, but it grows humility in you because you suddenly realize of the variety of different ways that you can move through this world, but it also allows you to better solve global problems, because a lot of things like droughts and migration and these really pressing global challenges are things that are going to have to be handled cross-culturally and around the world. And you will be more competent in being able to navigate and work with people of other cultures, in being able to ask questions from different perspectives. And it's fun. It's really important as the world is getting more and more globalized to understand how people around the world do things differently and to make friends around the world. And so definitely you can see all the reasons here on this slide, if not more. Like I said, the world is more and more globalized, and the pandemic is a really good example of that. Something that happened in a city in inland China has now affected the entire world. We're more connected than ever. It's more important than ever to know either another language, to understand other areas, and we're here to help facilitate that. So I'm going to start by talking about the mobility-based programs, as in study abroad, interning abroad programs where you are physically leaving Davis and going to other places. I'm starting with that because I know a lot of you are really interested in study abroad or maybe doing internships elsewhere, and there's a lot of big benefits for that. So the first one is that study abroad is great, or interning abroad, because you can fulfill graduation requirements. There's a myth that often goes around, I would say, that students that study abroad are set behind and they have to stay longer on campus. That's actually usually not the case. A lot of times, depending on the program you choose, students can actually graduate sooner, because some of our quarter abroad programs, for example, and our summer abroad, you are able to actually knock out a lot of core courses in a shorter amount of time while going abroad to do that and having a good time. Students often think, or not often think, but students that study abroad have better grades, because when you're going abroad in a cohort, you are studying together, you're working together, you're exploring together. So even if you're doing a hard course like our core genetics course that's required, you're in it to win it with a bunch of other students. So even if you're struggling, so is everybody else. And so the instructor can kind of tailor that course to help support you. And it's kind of almost harder to fall behind because you're in such a good cohort. And students, like we said, time to graduation can actually be faster. It allows you to get a global perspective on a topic. And so for me, when I was an undergraduate here at UC Davis in the dark ages in 2010, I studied abroad at the University of York in England for a year, and I was studying global development. And even though I was studying development, I studied it in England because I learned about it from the European perspective. And so I got a different perspective as to how different countries in the Western world perceive what global development looks like. And it's very different in Europe than it is in the United States. And so I was able to get that perspective. Improved language skills. This is really important. Like I said, as the world is more globalized, there's no better way to get great at a language than immersing yourself in the environment where you do it. So you could learn Chinese here on campus, or you could go to Beijing, learn Chinese, and then walk out the door and buy your lunch in the language that you just practiced. You'll improve much faster. And we have some quarter abroad programs where you can do your year-long language requirement all done in 1 quarter. Most of you may have already completed that as transfer students, but if you haven't and you're in the College of Letters and Science, great way to get that done. Active learning, it's really fun when you could walk out your door and see the principles of what you're learning about right in front of you. We had an engineering statics program in Rome where you could learn statics in the classroom and then walk out and look at the Colosseum and understand that they applied those statics principles, and that's why it's standing 2,000 years later, which is a really cool way to bring your coursework to life. You make great connections with friends and with instructors who are very prestigious faculty sometimes and can be really great for getting letters of recommendation. And it also is good for improving your career prospects by thinking about flexibility, communication cross-culturally, competence in uncertain environments. Those soft skills are really hard to teach when you are on a resume. Hard skills are easy to learn, but employers can't always teach you things like initiative and flexibility and confidence. And study abroad is a great way to show an employer that you have those skill sets that you develop. So here's just a quick slide to show you some of the fun things that Aggies can do abroad, that you can do abroad as a transfer student. You can intern in a hospital. You can do research at a lake in Guatemala. This one about being backstage at a film festival in Switzerland is kind of an example of how our faculty have really prestigious connections and can get you access to places that a lot of people, even that live in those countries, can't. So these are just kind of a fun way to inspire you to see the diversity of things that you can do. As a transfer student, I think it's important for you to understand that these are some myths that might kind of cause you to set you back. I'm not eligible to study abroad in my first year. That's not true. You absolutely can study abroad in your first year. And I was hoping to have a student with us come share how she spent her whole first year at Davis abroad in Japan. She wasn't able to join us. We do have another fantastic student, Adrian. He's going to be sharing his experience with us in just a few minutes here, as well as Radhika. She'll share with us a little bit later on as well. And so actually, so in your first year on campus, you can study abroad as soon as this next spring quarter. So our enrollments for spring quarter will open in, let's see, the beginning of October. And you can, after talking to your major advisor, making sure you're on track, you could participate in a study abroad as soon as spring quarter. Unless you're already signed up for one, which is possible, and then you might be going even sooner. I won't be able to graduate on time. Like I said earlier, that's often not the case. You don't have to go abroad as a junior. We have students that go abroad the first spring of their freshman year. We have students that finish their 2 years and then graduate or do a study abroad program after their 2 years. And so you can do your 2 years here on campus and then do a summer abroad or a whole quarter or semester after that. And you can participate in commencement, throw your hat in the air, celebrate, but then just file to graduate at the end of that extra semester. And doing so allows you to retain financial aid, to retain UC tuition. There's a lot of benefits. So you can do your 2 years and then study abroad if you didn't even want to fit it in during those 2 years, but you definitely can do that as well. I can't participate in study abroad because I have a family. That's something that is different for everybody, but we have 2-week-long programs called seminars abroad. So a lot of students that have family will often do a short 2-week program. We have programs that allow you to bring your family with you to host universities abroad. It takes a little more work, but it is possible. So there are options for you. Quick overview about our programs is I'm actually going to switch to our website here really fast. Let's see if I can do this. Stop share, get the sharing going for our website. There we go. So now you're looking at the Global Learning Hub website. And for study abroad here, there's a couple of really interesting things for you to take a look at. The first is that we have these 4 programs here are all programs that are led by UC Davis faculty. And if you sign up for UC Davis quarter abroad, summer abroad, internships abroad, and seminars abroad, you are signing up for classes right out of the UC Davis general catalog. You're taking classes that are led by Davis faculty, and you sign up in our course registration system just like you would here on campus. It's really straightforward. So I'll use summer abroad as an example. These programs are all 4 weeks long, and they fit easily into summer session 1 or summer session 2. As you may know or may not know, as transfer students, Davis has 2 sessions for the summer. So say you wanted to do, I really want to go to Tanzania and look at African studies. You can select that. You can see here's the dates. And this actually ends, that might be a bad example because I think that ends right at the beginning of summer session 2. Let's take a look at our really popular life sciences in Japan. This is a core biology course a lot of students need. June 21st to July 17th, you're done by summer session 2. You can even come back and take another session on campus or do another program. All these programs have an overview, courses, instructor, what it's like on site, what you can expect, how much it costs, and how do I get there? Do I need a visa? How does that work? So that's just something to show you. The other type of program we have, if you're thinking, why would I go abroad? Just to hang out with other Davis students. If you want to immerse further into the culture, you can select the UC Education Abroad program. And this is an opportunity where you can go and enroll at a host university abroad. And I'm actually going to switch here to, there we go. This is what that website looks like, and because it's for all the UCs. UCLA, UC San Diego. So you're not going to find any Davis specific stuff on this website, but this is the UC system as a whole partnering with over 100 universities around the world where you can enroll, take any classes at these universities, and they're guaranteed to show up as UC units on your transcript here. So what's nice about that is you don't have to worry, they're not transfer units. However, as a transfer student, you do want to talk to your major advisor because your major advisor gets to decide, or your department, whether or not these courses will count for your major. So I would say overall, fewer students that are transfers do this program because of that added element of articulation. But like I said, many students do, and our student that studied abroad in Japan for a year, she did it, and it's absolutely a really cool opportunity. There's hundreds of programs here that you can choose from. So now I've been talking at you for long enough. I'm going to stop for a moment, and we're going to turn it over to Adrian, who is a fabulous student who studied abroad and is a transfer student, and he's going to share his story with us. So Bree, if you could bring up Adrian, that would be awesome.
Awesome. All right, first and foremost, congratulations to all of you for getting to UC Davis. So congratulations, class of 2022. As Dana said, my name is Adrian Gonzalez. I am a first-generation student from Stockton, California, attended San Joaquin Delta College. I transferred to UC Davis in 2018 and will be part of the first ever virtual graduating class this coming summer. I'm majoring in sociology, organizational studies with an emphasis in business and society, as well as minoring in technology management. So before attending Davis, I knew that I wanted to study abroad. Like this was on top of what I had in my college bucket list. I still remember on August 8th of transfer orientation, where I met a lot of incoming students, faculty leaders, etc. One of the items on the agenda was meeting with faculty to discuss study abroad. And I remember being super excited what I was going to learn from the different programs that applied to me and how soon I could get started to applying and just figuring out the money and everything. Unfortunately, this experience actually turned out to be the exact opposite. They spent maybe approximately 5 to 10 minutes on this topic. And I'll never forget what they told me. They said, I know most of you want to graduate within 2 years. However, study abroad will either be an obstacle or a delay from your 2-year graduation period. And at that point, I was immediately discouraged. I was like, maybe I was frightened. Like, was this, like it made you think that did I want to participate in this programs at all? But nevertheless, I talked to the people close to me, my parents, my friends, and I decided that I should still wait it out and figure it out. And during the fall quarter, the study abroad office does what we call a study abroad fair, where we have various different vendors, not just UC Davis, but just other outside programs. And I finally was able to ask all the questions I wanted to figure out, is study abroad right for me? And I think within 2 to 3 minutes of actually talking to the study abroad staff, I realized that this is possible. There's no way, like, I'm gonna do this. And so what I recommend to all of you, because soon after I talked to my faculty advisor and figured out how we can implement this into my 2-year plan. And unlike orientation, it was very simple. Maybe we had like a 5 to 10 minute conversation. We figured out what classes take fall, winter, and spring quarter, and then do a summer program potentially. And it was perfect. And like I said, it turned out to be a lot easier than it turned out to be. So I studied abroad this past summer, 2019, with our faculty-led programs run by UC Davis called Perspectives in Global Management, which was primarily based in Edinburgh, Scotland. And as I told everybody once I returned, this was by far my favorite collegiate experience. We'll just talk about the logistics and how that worked out. Normally the class I took, which was ARE 112, which is an organization management course. Here at UC Davis, that's a class ranges anywhere between 250 to 300 students. My class size was 25, which was unbelievable. It was by far the most intimate experience I had at UC Davis compared to large class sizes. And then the same thing, I had friends that had taken the class I took abroad previously, and they kept saying, Professor Lundblad, Professor Lundblad, Professor Lundblad this. At the end of my summer, Professor Lundblad became my Uncle Jerry, and he became Uncle Jerry to everybody. We were able to establish such a personal relationship with that professor. To this day, I still see him every now on the campus. We can sit around, talk, and have a meeting. He's offered every single one of us that participate in this program, since we were able to establish such an intimate relationship, like a letters of recommendation moving forward. And this is going to sound a bit cliche when you hear about the study abroad experiences, but it's amazing how quickly you can establish these friendships with people abroad. And I met, again, doing UC Davis faculty led, I was with a bunch of UC Davis students and students I hadn't really had a chance to interact with on campus. But to this day, we're still family. We still talk on the group chats every single day. We have reunion tours every quarter to reminisce on our experiences and see how we can still stay connected moving forward. Just study abroad, again, I can't emphasize it enough. And once I came back, I looked for family because that's what I wanted from this international experience. And soon after, which actually led me back to the study abroad office, and which is where I was a student employee for this past year. And I was able to help other students make their study abroad dreams come true, which was, again, for me, absolutely amazing. So I guess my message for you was that these 2 years will go by fast, and just to make sure that study abroad is available to you, and we'll have these, and to use the resources available to you. And if you have any other additional questions, I'll be available for you at the Q&A portion towards the end.
Thank you, Adrian. That's fantastic. So cool. I love that story. I love Edinburgh too. I hope you all get a chance to go there someday. It's a beautiful city. So I'm going to share very quickly back on our website before I jump into our next part, which is experiential learning, only because I remember a lot of you said you were interested in internships. For study abroad, we have study abroad internships. Here we have these specific subject areas where you take a 4 to 6 unit internship in these subject areas and a 2-unit course on business writing for these internships. And you're around the world in different places doing all these cool things. So I just wanted to highlight that. If you don't see an internship topic here, we also have further internships through the UC Education Abroad program. Now I'm going to switch back over to my PowerPoint for our next part. Let's see here. Sorry, there's so much jumping around. It just kind of helps me to kind of stay on track here. Where were we? Get it going again. Study abroad. So the next thing I wanted to touch base about is something in our office in the Global Learning Hub called the Blum Center for Developing Economies. This is a really cool center within the hub where they offer courses here on campus that are kind of under the umbrella of design for development, as an example of one of the courses they have, where you can design a project, a poverty alleviation project. So that might be here in the United States, or it might be somewhere in the developing world. They do workshops and info sessions on how to write a proposal for funding, and then they will fund your experience to go implement that development project somewhere around the world. And so they give up to $2,500 for undergraduate students to go and do their project somewhere. You do need to find an NGO abroad that's willing to partner with you and help you implement it. But if you don't have one in mind already, they've got a great database of ones that you can work with. So we're going to have a student tell us about that in just a few minutes. So after I talk about a couple other opportunities available. And I will jump back and talk more about funding a little bit later on, because I know you're probably wondering, how do I afford these experiences? What's nice about the Blum Center is they will fund any poverty alleviation project as long as they select your proposal, which I'm sure you can participate in. So other things that we offer through our office, in addition to study abroad, are other experiential opportunities. So in addition to our unit-bearing, our credit-bearing UC Davis internships, we have a number of internships where you can just go and intern directly, kind of like through the Internship and Career Center, with different partners and organizations around the world, and work in their offices and do stuff that way. That can be optimal because then you're not paying UC Davis tuition, but just something to keep in mind is then you're also not getting UC Davis units. It's just more for the experience. So we have a database for that you can look through that I'll show you. You can do volunteering and local projects. We have leadership programs where you can enroll and then meet with students from around the world for 2 weeks over the summer to do an intensive global leadership program. There's competitions. We currently have competitions where UC Davis can compete with other universities around the world to solve sustainable development issues or different things like that. And then we have these all across the board, on campus, locally, regionally, and globally. Something that we've been developing for a while, but recently have really ramped up, are our virtual experiences. So now you might be wondering, what the heck am I going to do this summer in light of the fact that like everything is shut down? Well, that's not a time to stop and think that you can't grow yourself or your portfolio at all. We have a lot of resources in virtual internships where you can work for a company in England or in Hong Kong or in South Africa right from the comfort of your living room, but then you will learn how to engage with people from other cultures, work in a foreign workplace. And it shows future employers not only that you have those cross-cultural skills, but also that you have technology management skills, right? Because you know how to engage with these places and these people over a technological platform, right? That's one of those benefits that's coming out of this time that otherwise is very hard, is people realizing the possibilities of cross-cultural engagement over the internet platforms, which is pretty cool. You can also do virtual community partnerships and volunteering. We have some cool organizations like Translators Without Borders. So if you're already fluent in another language, it's a great way to offer your services to translate medical documents or all kinds of different things around the world. And then we also have online learning communities now too, which are courses through like the UN Sustainable Development Goals. You can learn about progress that's being made in those areas, existing issues around COVID-19, and these are all online courses that are with a lot of agencies out of Washington, D.C. and the UN and different things like that. So a lot of virtual opportunities as well. In addition to that, when you get here on campus, we have a lot of on-campus opportunities. So maybe you don't want to study abroad, or you're not able to study abroad for whatever reason. We have really cool seminars and workshops available. So the students in the picture here have just finished a certificate series on internationalization in higher education, and they learn about professionals that work on campus to internationalize research and all kinds of things like that. We have a global learning conference, which is a great opportunity to connect the skills that you've learned abroad or with your own multicultural background to learn how to articulate that well and apply that when you apply to future jobs, or just to meet and engage with other people that have the same background as you do, or fun experiences abroad that you want to talk about your experience and learn how to articulate that well. So that was our inaugural conference we did last year, and we're hoping to do it again next year. We have lots of different cool student clubs, as well as the cross-cultural center also on campus can facilitate great engagement there as well. And we have an international studies minor, which is a really great idea. Say you're in biological sciences, say you're in engineering, or something that maybe doesn't intrinsically say to a future employer, I'm globally conscious. Any class that you take abroad, you can apply to your global international studies minor, mostly, for the most part. You need to talk to the advisor about it, but there's a lot of flexibility there to incorporate that. And so that's a great way to complement your maybe STEM major, for example, with that skill set. So that's something to keep in mind. And at this point in time, I'm going to hand it over to our next student, Radhika, who's going to tell us a little bit about how she's gotten involved internationally here on campus, as well as her engagement with the Blum Center for Developing Economies. So take it away, Radhika.
Okay, sure. So hi, everybody. My name is Radhika Marwaha. Welcome to UC Davis. I really hope for those of you who are still deciding, you end up choosing Davis. It's a wonderful campus to be on. So a little bit about me. I'm a third-year global disease biology major. So I'm an international student, but I'm not a transfer student. But then I've engaged in some of the opportunities that we've been talking about. So I'd be happy to share something about that. So the first thing is the student organizations on campus. You can find all of them listed. We have over 800 on our campus, and you can find them on Aggie Live. But some really cool ones that I got involved in when I joined in my freshman year were, the first one is Project Rishi, which stands for Project Rural India Social and Health Improvement. And so this was a really cool initiative because it had the whole development context. So we adopt a village in India, and we work to address health and social concerns. So we were addressing topics like female health, we were addressing income generation, a wide array of topics in that community. And luckily, when I learned about the Blum Center grant, I was able to apply for it, and my project qualified as a project that alleviated poverty in a rural context. And so I was able to get that grant money and actually travel there and stay for I think it was a month and a few days. And I was able to stay there, engage with community members, live and learn in that actual context, and apply a lot of the concepts I was learning in my classroom. Because usually, where else do you get that chance to do that? So that was one of the very cool opportunities. Another thing that another club that I ended up joining in my second year was Other Collective. And this is a student-run magazine that talks about issues that are related to Middle East, North Africa, and South Asia. Now, why this is really important to talk about in this place, especially with the relationship to my major, is because a lot of the health concerns that I wanted to talk about, or agriculture concerns, I was able to articulate it for the specific communities that I was interested in. For example, currently I'm working on a project that talks about monocultures in ancient Mesopotamia. And where else would I get that chance to do that? So that was another cool opportunity. I also got involved with a student-run clinic that works in the greater Sacramento region. You can choose what specific community you want to work with. There are about 7 clinics that are affiliated with the School of Medicine. So the one I joined specifically works with the Punjabi immigrant community. So that was my area of interest, and we offer healthcare services and social justice services for those who don't have access to them. So that was one cool opportunity. Apart from that, if some of you are interested in the academic realm, you can even do research, as Dana mentioned, with things that interest you that have a more global focus. One of the things I'm working on currently is doing a refugee domestic violence research project, and that looks at Arab and Afghan refugees. So that again is something, there are multiple projects like this that you can get involved in when you decide to come to Davis. So yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Radhika. And I want to mention to you guys that during our Q&A time at the end, both Radhika and Adrian will be there to answer further questions that you have. So don't worry, they'll be here when you have more questions. So I'm gonna pick this up and keep on going now. Let's see if I can get to our next slide. Here we go. So my last couple things I want to talk about are, we also have opportunities after graduation and then funding, and then we can move on to questions. So for you guys, normally we wouldn't put after graduation opportunities in a presentation about before you even come to UC Davis. But since a lot of you will only be here for 2 years and you're maybe really critically thinking about those next steps, we want to make sure that you're aware of the fact that we have resources for wanting to go after you graduate as well. So if you're like, I've already decided I can't go abroad during my time here, it's not going to work out, but I really want to go abroad after I graduate, we are still the place you can come for support. So actually within the Internship and Career Center office, they have a Peace Corps official, so we can connect you with that officer to talk about that as an option if you're interested. The Fulbright is a really prestigious scholarship where you can go abroad to teach or learn a language, to conduct research, and UC Davis was actually ranked one of the highest Fulbright universities in this past year, and so centers of Fulbright recipients. So come check us out about that. If maybe you want to teach English abroad, you're like, I don't really know what I want to do after I graduate, but I just want to go abroad and get paid to do something and have a good time and learn how to, I can speak English and I'd like to learn to teach it. We have a lot of resources to connect you with organizations where you can do that. We have a really great search engine that UC Davis pays for a subscription for UC Davis students only, that's called Going Global. And that is basically like an Indeed or a LinkedIn job search tool. It's a job search tool that connects with all of the job search engines around the world and brings them all into one place. So if you're like, I'm an aeronautical engineer and I want to go to Munich, Germany, you can select those specific things and it will pull from even the local job postings in Munich, Germany, and give you a list of stuff relevant to what you're interested in. And you can select by English only, or if you speak the language of where you want to go, you might find postings in that language as well. It's really robust, and we are more than happy to help you navigate that. I have yet to do a search with a student with what they're interested in where we haven't found opportunities that are like in the area of what they're interested in that have popped up, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, we also have a graduate school abroad session, and that's coming up soon if you're interested in thinking about that. I know you're just thinking about coming to UC Davis, but if you're thinking in the future, on Tuesday, May 19th from 12 to 1, we have a Going Abroad for Graduate School session. And I'm gonna actually show you on I think Bree will pop that in the chat so you can know where to go, but just so that you can see it, let's hop back over to our website here. So you're on our Global Learning Hub website. If you go to events, we have events calendar. If you go down here, you'll see that we have a Fulbright workshop. Actually, that was today, but there'll be another one coming up. Here's the session we're in now, and then we have Going Abroad for Graduate School, and you would need to register for that one. So feel free to hit that and then join for that experience, and you can learn next steps for that. Lastly, I'm going to be shifting gears to our last slide, but I'm on the website, so I'm going to use that, and that is funding. How do I afford this? First of all, I'll let you know that we have a bunch of scholarships under here, under the scholarships and funding section. And for most of these international experiences, we have funding that can support you. So take a look through these. We're actually in the process of building a funding search tool, so it can even be more specific based on what you're interested in doing that brings in all of these different opportunities. I'm going to use study abroad as an example. So I know I want to go to the Eiffel Tower and take a selfie in front of that. I think that sounds fun. How do I get able to afford this? These funding here is for students doing our UC Davis faculty-led programs. So there's a lot of details there. The one here for students doing the UC-wide, where you would go to a host university and take classes, they have a ton of different opportunities under there. And then we have the Blum Center here. If you're looking to go to a developing economy to implement a poverty alleviation project, we have scholarships and awards specifically for different colleges or different majors. all down here. And then we also have additional scholarships, which are really varied. And one that I just want to point out to you is the Gilman Scholarship. If you are a Pell Grant recipient, a federal Pell Grant recipient, you could be eligible to win up to $5,000 toward a study abroad experience. And so it's quite competitive because it's quite prestigious, but we've been awarded the top, it's like the top third highest award rate for research universities in the country, because we hold information sessions and application workshops where someone will review your application from our office and give you feedback to really improve your chances of getting that $5,000 award. So I just want to show you that we do have a lot of resources from the scholarship section. In addition to scholarships, as long as you are doing a program that receives UC Davis units, then you are also eligible for financial aid. And so in addition to these scholarships, you may be eligible for increased aid to meet some or all of your unmet needs. And so we have a financial aid advisor in our office, and she can meet with you to talk about how much additional aid you could potentially be eligible for, and whether that will come in the form of loans, grants, what that would look like. And that's different for every student. And so I unfortunately can't say you are guaranteed this much for this program, because it depends on your personal portfolio and on the program that you're interested in doing. So what we ask students to do is look through the programs. We help you find those programs, narrow it down to your top 2 or 3 that look like a lot of fun to you. And then we can set you up as an appointment with our financial aid advisor, and she can let you know how much additional aid you could anticipate receiving. So that's definitely something to know. And then lastly, I'm just going to talk about next steps. A great thing to do is to start thinking about and identifying, what do I want to do abroad, right? We have hundreds of opportunities, not just study abroad and interning, but all these other ones. Identify what looks interesting to you. What do I want to explore? And then you can either start by just emailing us at globallearning@ucdavis.edu, or you can, and we can help connect you. Or I'm going to hop back over to our website here. We have a fabulous search tool here that search all programs, and it allows you not just to look at our study abroad options, but also all these other opportunities. So you could say, I want to do a study abroad, maybe an internship. I want to go maybe just over the summer because I'm concerned about making that work otherwise. And my subject area is, I want to do, I'm pre-vet, I'm an animal science student, and I really want to go to, let's see, gosh, there's so many regions. I'll start with region. I'd like to go to Asia or Europe or maybe Oceania. Let's see what's up here. So we have a summer internship doing veterinary medicine in Australia. We've got a winemaking course, I guess because that was ag and environmental sciences in case you're interested in making wine. Biosci courses, which you've probably already completed as transfer students. And then, so these green ones are all of our faculty-led programs, and then all the rest are a variety of other opportunities that you might find. Here's a research opportunity at the National University of, in Taipei, National Taiwan University. Lots of different cool opportunities in our search tool. Another great tool, if you know you just want to do study abroad where you're getting Davis units, you can check out study abroad in your major. This one will not incorporate non-UC Davis programs, but it will, you can highlight, I am an animal science major, where do I want to go? And we will give you a list of programs identified by our major, our office staff that we think would either be interesting to you in content or have courses that we know will count for your major. So there's a couple places to get started, just so that you know about that. And then I'll hop back over to my presentation because I'm almost done and we can do questions. Talk to an advisor in our office. Once again, start by emailing globallearning@ucdavis.edu and we will connect you with an advisor. Normally, I would say come by our office because we're open every day from 9 to 4, but right now we're remote. So we do have a number you can call. Right now it's rolling to voicemail and then we'll call you back. So you might, it's easiest probably just to email us and we'll connect you. Let's see what else. Discuss with your family. That's a big choice. Talk to your academic advisor because as As a transfer student, you definitely want to make sure that academics fit well for you. But just so you know, we have our academic advisors, many of them are very supportive. They know what programs transfer students have done that work well, so definitely talk to them as well. And then lastly, I don't know what happened with the formatting here, but explore social media. Our handle is at UC Davis Abroad, and we've got some really inspiring photos of students doing really fabulous things all over the world. So that is our presentation for you. I know we give a lot of info to you really quickly, but once again, congratulations on getting into Davis. And now we have, gosh, like 20 minutes left for questions. So real quick, before we switch to that, I need to update this. So this little area says Global Learning Hub, but we are on the corner of California Avenue and Russell Boulevard, right across from the mosque. If you are in UC Davis and you know where that is, come check us out. We're on the first floor of the International Center. Check us out once we reopen. So that's where you can find us. That's our number. And yeah, thanks so much for tuning in, and let's turn it over for some questions. And Radhika and Adrian, and even Bree, you can turn your cameras on and we can kind of look at these questions here. Let's see. Ooh, somebody says it's incredible and that they didn't know there were so many possibilities. That's inspiring.
Awesome.
Okay.
I do have a couple questions that were sent to me privately that I want to make sure that I pull up. Okay. Oh, shoot. Where did it just go? Okay. One person wanted to know, when is the best time for a transfer student to study abroad?
When is the best time is kind of a tricky question because it does depend on what your major is. In general, I would say that summers are a pretty easy time because you aren't having to worry about, if you're gone on campus during the academic year, what kind of courses do I need to integrate? So there are a lot of opportunities over the summer for transfer students. But summer, or I would say our quarter abroads are good because you're only missing one quarter here on campus. And then with the UC Education Abroad program, many of those at host universities go for a full semester. And so there is a lot of students will choose to go during the fall because you're only missing fall quarter here at Davis. So that can be more optimal for a lot of students than going in the spring semester because that will cause you to miss winter and spring quarters. That's not a problem if depending on your timeline. That's actually what I did. And it's nice because then you can stay abroad and travel over the summer, but it just requires a little more planning. So we tend to send more students abroad on those education abroad university programs in the fall than we do in the spring. So I would say summer is the easiest, but fall is close behind.
Dana, can you tell us a little bit about how competitive Global Learning Hub internships are?
Great question. So depending on the type of internship you're looking at, that will vary, but the ones that are hosted by our UC Davis Study Abroad, our faculty-led internships, those are actually first completed, first reserved. So Adrian, why don't you tell us a little bit about those, because you work with those. So what can you tell us? You're on mute. There you go.
Perfect. Yep. Let me just unmute myself. So yeah, like as Dana was just mentioning, so it's nothing necessarily you have to do like Mary, you have to like apply for it. Like it's first come, first reserved basis. So what we do for our normal study abroad process is that you have to have a valid passport, health clearance, and then everything else is just filling out the general information. You're doing like emergency contacts and just agreeing to the terms of like study abroad and agreeing to just the like financial aid, everything like that entails. And then from there, it's just every internship has its different availability size. Like some of the health internships I know are a little smaller, so they can be from 6 to 9 people. And some of our internships can be as large as 15 to 18 for availability.
Great, thanks, Adrian. So yeah, for those UC Davis faculty-led ones, you don't need to have a ton of experience in those areas in order to do that internship. You are guaranteed an internship regardless. That being said, the more experience you have in that area, the more likely you are to be placed into an internship on site that might be a little more engaging or challenging. So for example, if you're an engineer and you're coming in as an upper division engineering student and you have a lot of experience in computer engineering, for example, your internship might be more valuable to that provider and you could be doing more dynamic and challenging projects than if you were to do an internship in engineering and you've only taken 8 engineering units and that's it. There is an actual 8 engineering unit prerequisite for that one. Some of our internships have very basic prerequisites, but as transfer students, you will likely have already met all of those prerequisites required. For our EAP internships, some of those can be a little more competitive, but in general, so a lot of times you'll need the 3.0 GPA to apply it as an application rather than an enrollment like our faculty-led ones. But again, as transfer students, you all are coming in with a 3.0, so that puts you in a good place. But what's nice about these internships is you are essentially, for the most part, guaranteed a spot compared to ones where if you went through the experiential learning portal into non-UC Davis ones, you will have to seek that and apply for that kind of more independently. So it can be a little more competitive.
Yeah, on top of that as well, they'll have people that will help you. There's, I believe, additional things you have to do for the internships as well. They'll have you fill out some questionnaires, what is it? You have to do cover letters. You're gonna do and just to figure out to see where like your best matches can fit for the internships to see what they offer.
Yep, so once you enroll, you submit all those things, and we partner with organizations on the ground that they have a portfolio of a ton of businesses in London or Sydney or wherever the location is, and they will place you in an organization, and those organizations will select you based on your cover letter and resume. And sometimes you might do an online Zoom style interview as well prior to departure.
Dana, we have a few questions left, and one of those is asking about essentially, would you recommend taking hard classes during a study abroad session? And I think what this person means by that is chemistry or STEM classes versus taking less difficult classes during a study abroad program. And I do want to point out, and I think this might be related to STEM, and whoever wrote this, please do feel free to specify, but hard classes versus easy classes are going to vary depending on the student and what the student's strengths are versus what they think their weaknesses are. So that's one good thing to keep in mind with study abroad is where are your strengths and how much time do you feel that you have to designate to that topic overseas versus on campus. And one more thing I'll add, and then Dana, I'll pass it off to you in case there's anything else that you would like to add. When you are studying abroad, especially if through the faculty-led programs, but through any of them, one of the huge benefits and major strengths is that you have a much smaller cohort and easier access to faculty, particularly for the faculty-led, than you would in, say, a lower division chemistry class where you might be taking that class with 300, 400 people and one faculty. So, and you have a built-in study crew because you're all taking the same classes at the same time. And so for those purposes, it can be beneficial potentially for you to go abroad and take some of these classes that might be typically challenging and typically in large lecture halls. With that said, studying for challenging classes might take additional time versus classes that you find maybe a little bit easier or less time intensive. And when you're abroad, you might want to spend more time outside than studying. And so those are a couple pieces to keep in mind as you're thinking about what types of classes you want to pursue while abroad. And Dana, I'll turn it over to you in case you have anything to add.
I mean, that's essentially what I was going to say is to phrase it as, is it better to do this, is a tricky way to think about it because it's not necessarily better or worse. I would say the upside of doing a tough class abroad is students are consistently more likely to perform better on that class because of that small cohort, because of access to that instructor. The downside is you will be working hard and studying, and that might prevent you from going out and engaging to the fullest extent with that community in your downtime. You might engage with that community as part of the coursework, which would add a lot of value. But if you want to spend a lot of that time traveling on your own on weekends and like going and seeing surrounding places, then doing an easier course, truthfully, probably will leave you a little more time to do that kind of thing. And so it's just a different kind of experience. I would say, like, for example, that genetics course, that biology 101 course, that is a tough course. And students spend a lot of time studying, but they give really high reviews because the professor that teaches that is a professor emeritus, and she worked at Cambridge. She did her postdoc research in Stockholm at the university, the Nobel laureates. So you get access to places and people that are really life-changing. The flip side is often in the comments, they say, I wish I had more time to just go explore the cities we were in because I was studying so hard. And so it's just trade-offs. That's all it is.
Yeah. I'll also mention really quickly for the courses that I took abroad, I think that general average, when you take them here at UC Davis, since it's a larger class size, is around a C+, and I believe for my program, I believe the average grade we received was a B+. So I don't know if you want to take that into consideration. Maybe it's like a whole letter grade shift potentially, but it's whatever you put into it. It's kind of a balance of between study abroad and it's a balance between academics and also being abroad. And I think a lot of the professors that decide to do these programs understand that that's what you're searching for. So they do a really good job of accommodating to what your needs are.
We've had a lot of questions with regards to the internships, and I know you had mentioned earlier about competition and guaranteed internships for faculty-led programs. Can you talk a little bit about what the application for internships look like? And one person had also asked, and it just went away, and I did answer this in the chat, but a few times it's come up as to whether the internships are paid or unpaid. So first the application question, and then paid or unpaid.
Okay, so we kind of answered the application question already, but I will reiterate it. For the UC Davis internships, you are essentially submitting, like Adrian said, a passport, a deposit toward the fees, because it is a paid internship, or I mean, sorry, it is an internship where you are paying to participate. And it is a few other documents, and then you're placed in an internship. So it's not really that competitive, but the more experience you have in the area, the more rewarding your internship might be. With the UC Education Abroad Program internships, those might be more competitive. And then with the non-UC Davis credit-bearing internships through our Experiential Learning Portal, those you might have to apply for, and those could be quite competitive. Through the Experiential Learning non-bearing credit-bearing internships, some of those may be paid. And actually on our funding page, you can find a funded internship section. Let me see if I can go to it. Oops, not that one. Let's see here, share. Under resources, scholarships, and funding, if I go down here, this is a whole page specifically for internships where either they pay you or they at least give you a stipend to participate in these internships. For the ones where we place you in an internship, those are actually ones where you would pay because they're credit bearing. So you would get units toward your UC Davis. So you're basically paying tuition to do the UC Davis internships, the ones that you would find right here. And so these basically break down to have tuition units, the cost of the flight, the cost of the housing. All of these have housing provided. And so that is an additional cost. And so that's just something to think about for the expenses. Whereas the funded internships that you'll find under our scholarships and funding section, those might be a little more independent. You might need to find your own housing, or maybe they'll provide you with housing, but these are all with outside organizations. And so we can't necessarily guarantee we can tell you that they're quality, otherwise we wouldn't put them on our website, but they vary as far as what's covered and how much you could make. The Internship and Career Center is also a really important place for you to go for those of you that are interested in internships, because they have a lot of really robust opportunities as well.
All right, thanks, Dana. It looks like we have a question about internships. So if a student decides to go abroad, say in the fall, for example, how many units will they be able to take, and how does it affect their tuition?
So tuition, if you do a fall quarter abroad versus the UC Education Abroad program, it's pretty similar. To the tuition is essentially exactly what you'd be paying here on campus. The tuition would be flat. The added cost will go into the flight, the fact that you're physically going somewhere else, as well as sometimes, say you're in Europe, for example, the higher exchange rate might add a higher cost of living there as well. So it does tend to be a little more, which is why our financial aid officer can often offer you additional aid. But how many units do you get? Well, you would get, if you do a quarter abroad, it's essentially, a lot of times it's more than you'd take on campus. So here on campus, you're taking about 15 units a quarter. With our quarter abroad programs, you could take as little as 14, but some of them go a lot higher and they can go up to 19 units. So you can kind of get ahead there. And then if you do the UC Education Abroad program where you're gone for a semester, then you're missing only a quarter here. You might start in August and go to December, and you could get many more units. You could get 20-something units because you are there abroad for longer. So it kind of varies. I know that's maybe not a satisfying answer, but it really just kind of depends on which program you choose, which type of fall quarter program.
Okay, I had, let's see, one more here. What are the pros and cons of taking a longer study abroad versus a shorter study abroad program? Great
question. I'll answer what I say, and then also if anybody else wants to chime in, you're more than welcome to, because I don't need to dominate these Q&As. I would say I've actually worked in this office for many years, and many times I have heard students come back, returnees, that have said, oh my gosh, I so wish I went for longer. Why did I go for so short? I feel like I was just getting to know that culture. I really wish that I had more time there. Very rarely, I think once in my like 10 years of working here, have I heard a student say, I wish I went for less time. Pretty much nobody ever says, I wish I went for a shorter amount of time. So from experience, I can tell you that longer allows you to take more advantage of immersing into the culture. And students, again, and plus like one-time costs, like a flight. If you're flying to, East Africa and you're going for a week versus a year, that cost is going to be the same. And so those fixed costs, you'll get a lot more out of its worth if you're going for longer. The downside is you're out of Davis longer. As a transfer student, that can be really hard, and you do need to actively think about how much time you're out off campus, because you do need to take a certain amount of units here on campus in order to graduate. Something for you to think about as transfer students is called the senior residency requirement, and 35 of your last 45 units need to be taken on campus. UC Davis quarter abroad programs don't count toward that. Those are taken on campus essentially because they're Davis courses. With UC EAP, it can get a little more complicated, and so you do need to talk to our office and to your college, and we can help you sort that out. But as a transfer student, if you come to Davis, you spend a year abroad your first year, and then you want to spend half your senior year abroad after that, and then you're really only physically on the Davis campus for like 2 quarters, that is going to be an issue. There is a minimum amount of time that you need to be here at UC Davis. So make sure you talk to your college and to our office, and we can kind of walk you through what that looks like for your scenario. And congratulations on getting onto Davis. This is a great place that you want to be, and so like, be here too. I'm not saying you shouldn't be in Davis. There's a lot of really amazing opportunities, like Radhika shared with her club, and even like just Northern California and Davis in general is a fantastic place. And so like, be thinking about that too. And housing as well. If you're paying for housing here, you need to find a subletter. You don't want to double pay for that kind of thing. So there are reasons to be here as well. That was long-winded, but that's what I would say.
And I think that's a good segue to talk about or reiterate that definitely study abroad is a wonderful option for those of you who want to participate, and for those of you who either want to spend more time on campus, as Dana was just talking about, or for whatever reason can't or don't choose to study abroad, you're definitely able to find global learning activities here on campus and locally in the region. So I know I had some students earlier talk about interest in biology and pre-med, and you can definitely participate in opportunities and clinics that are serving local communities, refugee community members, immigrant community members, and gain those intercultural skills and learn how culture and medicine come together in a clinic that's right here in Sacramento or in Davis, and still be able to get those global learning skills that are so important for the global economy and the job market. And if you're pursuing a health industry, we can see now more than ever why it's so important to have global learning skills as well. So by no means do you have to go overseas or leave campus in order to get these skills, but definitely those are options available. So we really at Davis strive to serve all of you holistically, and whatever that means for you, it's really the way that we want to support you. And it's 6 o'clock right now, so I will stop there.
Yeah. Real quick, I will also mention that the program that I participated in was 4 weeks long, but however, you don't have to leave after your program finishes. So what I personally did was that I stayed an extra 2.5 weeks since I was already in Europe, and I did my own traveling. My family actually flew in and met with me in London. And from there, we went into Greece, to France, and then we visited other places around. So just because you're only there for 4 weeks, again, those 4 weeks will go by fast, but you can always still stay and just do your own traveling on your own.
Yeah, we do not require you to fly out in a group and fly back in a group. As long as you're there on the first day and you're engaged with the program, you can do whatever you want before or after and travel and maximize that time. Radhika, when you were abroad, how long was your Blum Center project? How long did you go for?
So I think the Blum Center, what they do is they have a minimum requirement of a month, but you can stay for a longer duration. So I was in my community, which I was serving for a month, and then we spent a couple of days scouting other villages around. So yeah, that's how it goes.
Great. Yeah. So there's a lot of flexibility there. Great. All right. Well, Bree, are there any other questions? I know everyone is free to duck out. We could answer any more, or should we? I think it's time to be done. 6 o'clock.
It's at the top of the hour, so I think we're coming to the end of our program. And thank you all so much for joining us today. And congratulations to all of those who are incoming Aggies. We're really looking forward to seeing you this upcoming year.
Absolutely. So any questions, email us at globallearning@ucdavis.edu.
All right. Take care, everyone. We look forward to connecting with you more. Bye.
Thanks, guys.